Hi, everyone. For the students in the room, welcome. Super excited to see you here today. Join us on camera if you'd like. We do not bite. Not through camera, at least. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Just waiting a few more seconds for some students to load into the room, and then we're going to get going. Yay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I see a few more students just still loading in, so 3 more seconds. And we'll get started. Okay, so it looks like everybody who was loading has already loaded in, so I said we'd go ahead and get going. First and foremost, welcome and congratulations on your acceptance to Hunter College if you've been accepted. We are super excited to give you this virtual version of a housing tour. At this point, we can't bring you to campus to the residence halls yet, but it's kind of exciting to be able to cover this information and give you information virtually. We have students who are here to tell you a little bit about their experience. And really being part of Hunter College Housing is being part of New York City at large. Hunter is located smack down the middle of Manhattan, right? So we're in the middle of 68th Street and Lexington Avenue. We're on the intersection. So the main campus is actually 2 blocks away from Central Park, a couple blocks away from the Museum Row, like a block and a half away from the Hospital Row if you're doing research, things like that. So there's a lot of really cool opportunities and really cool ways for you as a Hunter student to partake in New York City in a lot of different ways and kind of make New York City your home. But the coolest thing I think is really the fact that we do offer housing, and having three different residence halls at housing gives you an opportunity to kind of live in the city and try that whole college experience and be in the city on your own, but at the same time have the support of our staff, the support of our students, public safety, and all that along with you. It may seem intimidating, but I hope that today's students will tell you how exciting it is to live on campus and what they do outside of class and what they do. Obviously, studying and all that good stuff is first, but there's a lot of things that they do outside of class, and being in the residence halls actually allows them to do that a lot easier. So first, you probably should know that we have 3 different residence halls, and they're located about a 15-minute commute to campus. But I will say that the 15 minutes is a little different for each building. So for example, our 79th Street building is located at 79th Street, right? So that's about a 15-minute walk. I'm a pretty fast walker. It probably takes me a little less than that. But if you are somebody who enjoys a walk or somebody who doesn't enjoy a walk but wants to be closer, it's only 1 bus stop away as far as I know. But again, it's only like a 15-minute walk from the main campus. So if you have classes, you can roll out of bed and be in class in 15 minutes. The other 2 buildings are located sort of below the main campus, and the 51st Street residence hall is also about 15 minutes away from our general sort of campus. The cool thing with that building is that it's brand new. We haven't seen it. We haven't been there yet. Well, I haven't. I'm sure Judy has. But it's kind of it's kind of exciting to be the first person to live in a building that's just yours and to try out and test out. But I can tell you that it's 15 minutes away. That's the only thing I know, but we have a lot more information coming to you. And then last but not least is Brookdale Residence Hall, which is something that you probably all heard about. It's our oldest building, if you will. So it's been with us for quite some time. And it's located at 25th Street. So that 15 to 20 minute commute is actually either a bus or a train to campus. If you're a walker, I don't know, Judy, what about like a 45-minute walk if you really want it?
Yeah, I've done the walk before, and it could be close to an hour. If you're strolling along, I think. Yeah.
Good news is that you can pick up a lot of really cool food bites on the way. So if you really want to just walk, but there are also city bikes available outside of the campus. So again, all buildings are like a 15 to 20 minute commute. 79th and 51st are walkable 15, 20 minutes, whereas the 25th Street is trainable or busable, if those are even words. They will be from now on. So without further ado, I want to talk to you a little bit about I want Judy to talk to you a little bit more about our campus and what it is. And again, being part of Hunter community and being part of the residence life community means so much more than just living on campus. It's not just a place where you sleep. It's not just a place where you sort of come between classes. There's a whole community within the residence life that's there to have fun stuff with, that's there to do events with in New York City. It's a whole bigger family that kind of allows you to do a lot of different things. So as a Hunter student, you'll be part of a much bigger 17,000 undergraduate student family. You'll have a family of your own that's within your academic major of choice. But then on top of all of that, as a resident student, you'll have people that you live with, your neighbors to your left and to your right and above and below, people that you will see on the same bus going to school, people who will be walking on the same streets going to school with you, people who are going to be making popcorn at night, watching movies and whatever else sort of with you as well. So you have a few different smaller communities that you're building, and residential community is probably one of those that's going to stick with you for the longest because you live with them the longest and you see each other more. I can tell you from personal experience, I'm still sort of best friends with my roommates from college, weddings, all that good stuff, vacations. And it's kind of really cool to be able to say that we met each other just randomly on the floor in residence life. So Judy, I think this is your time, but before we go there, I'm going to introduce you guys to students who actually have experience living on campus. So if you have any questions about their experiences, we will have a Q&A at the end. If you come up with any questions, there's a little chat button somewhere on the bottom of your screen. Throw those questions in there and we'll definitely ask the students at the end. So Helen, I'll have you go first.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Helen. I'm a sophomore at Hunter majoring in nursing. I'm a student ambassador and I'm part of the Nursing Scholar Program. I'm also on the women's cross country and track team, and I currently dorm at Brookdale. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to ask.
Awesome. Next up, I have Annabelle, who does not live on campus currently, but lived on one of the other residence halls that was not Brookdale, which is why she's here. So Annabelle, they're all yours.
Hi everyone, so my name is Annabelle. I'm a junior here at Hunter. I am double majoring in art history and studio art with a minor in sociology. So I used to live at a different dorm that is now closed, but I also was at the 79th dorms a ton because I had a ton of friends there, so I definitely know about those. I'm also a Muse Scholar, which is one of our freshman scholars programs, and a student ambassador.
Awesome, thank you. So Judy, now they're all yours.
All right, thank you, Irina. So my name is Judy. I'm the Assistant Director of Residence Life, and I've been at Hunter for almost 8 years. So I've been here for a very long time, Irina knows. And just kind of echoing what Irina said. So students who live at our different Hunter housing locations really have a unique opportunity to enrich their learning experiences by becoming involved within Hunter and also within the New York City community, right? Because it's going to be a really big change if you aren't from the boroughs, if you've never lived in Manhattan specifically before. Part of that is that less than 900 students have the opportunity to live in our residence halls out of the much larger Hunter College population. And, these students who live on campus and specified scholar groups that are given priority access really get to build a better community amongst their program and amongst other students from all over the world. So the application process is highly competitive. As I said, we do only accept a small amount of students, but we always tell everyone to submit because you never know if you don't try. So kind of a little bit about the resident community. So our residents are involved in a number of programs, and something that we're really excited for is more programs coming up for the fall semester. That's because obviously COVID really changed the way our residence hall worked these past few years, but with the numbers changing in New York City, we're really happy to see that we're going to try to change towards something more similar to what we've had in the past. Our residence life and student activities host a lot of events throughout the year, and living in New York City really gives you access to the cultural events, and we always suggest our residents to go explore New York City. And part of being a CUNY student, you do get a lot of discounted or free tickets to do things in the city that you can use your CUNY ID for. So a little bit more about our housing. So each one of our housing locations is different, but overall, all of our housing locations have 24/7 security. There is residence life staffing, whether it be professional staff, resident assistants. Each location have different amenities that I'll probably go through. And the best part is that they're all located in Manhattan and all relatively close to the Hunter's main campus. So while meal plans aren't offered at Hunter, every one of our locations has kitchen accommodations, and most students either cook or order out. So it's a really great time to meet a lot of people because a lot of students gather in the kitchens and they cook amongst each other, they share food, and it very much seems like a way for our students to build relationships with one another. Each buildings do follow specific residence life, CUNY, and Hunter policies, and there are visitation policies, community and conduct policies. And as a reminder, all of our locations are alcohol and drug free. Irina, if you can switch to the next slide. Perfect. So the first location that I want to talk about is our Brookdale campus. So like Irina said, it's located on 21st Street and First Avenue. The Brookdale campus is both an academic building and a residence hall, meaning that if you are in specific majors, you'll probably take some classes at the Brookdale residence hall. Mostly nursing students. We have grad students in PT programs that also have spaces here. So there is a possibility you might end up taking some courses here. So all of the rooms located at the Brookdale campus are single rooms. There's usually about 35 to 45 students per floor, and each floor has gender neutral communal bathrooms and kitchens and a lounge. And Brookdale is mainly reserved for guaranteed housing scholars, but all students can apply. So what that means is if it's mostly reserved for first year and second year Macaulay students and gold scholars. And if you're a first year incoming student, you will, and you're in part of those programs, you'll get a letter or an email with information regarding some free housing. And once the guaranteed students, housing scholars have received housing, then we move on to a more generalized population. Irina, next slide. Thank you. So these are some of the accommodations, or amenities, I'm sorry, at the Brookdale Residence Hall. So there is a courtyard, there's a laundry room in the basement that's shared amongst the entire student population. And there's about 650 students who live within the residence hall, the Brookdale Residence Hall. So it is one of our larger residence halls, but again, this one is much more competitive to get into because it's mostly reserved for guaranteed housing scholars. There is a pool and a gymnasium that is run by our athletics department, and they're in charge of staffing those locations. And there is a game room that's run by the undergraduate student government, and they also staff that space. It's a space where students can come and hang out with their friends. That's mostly open in the evenings, but there are some daytime hours as well. We have a study area, which you can kind of see in this top left corner. It's also one of the air-conditioned spaces in the building. The Brookdale campus, like Irina said, is fairly old, so it does not have air conditioning, but it does have heating, obviously. And so each floor, like we said, have a kitchen. Each of the rooms, as you can see within the room accommodations here, they have a twin bed, twin size bed, nightstand, dresser, desk chair, closet. The internet is the Wi-Fi internet, so you'll get a username and password that will give you access for internet on Hunter's main campus as the same as the Brookdale campus. And like I said previously, the heating unit. So the cost for the Brookdale location is about $6,600 to $9,400 per student for the entire semester. Most students who live at Brookdale, like Irina said, they commute via the bus or the subway. So the bus is right on 25th and 1st, and then the subway is probably a 10 to 15 minute walk a few avenues away. So you can go on to the next slide, Irina. Thank you. So our next location is our Hunter Apartments. So the Hunter Apartments are located at 79th Street. This building has been around since 2017, when Hunter worked with the building management team to get spaces here. About 150 students live at this location. Again, it's about a 20-minute walk from Hunter's 68th Street. The apartment types here are triples, quads, and suites. And each apartment has 1 to 2 bathroom, a full kitchen that you only share amongst the students in your room, which comes with a fridge, a microwave, a stove, and an oven. And they're open floor plans. So if you can switch to the next slide for me. So this is definitely a different kind of space than the Brookdale campus. The amenities here, there is a patio that's in the backyard, and again, a laundry room in the basement for the whole building. But each apartment has, like we said, the full kitchen that's shared amongst the students, and the bathroom that's only shared amongst the students here. There's also TV that's provided with Wi-Fi and cable. So the Wi-Fi in these spaces, each apartment has their own Wi-Fi router box, so it's not through the HunterNet. So the internet's just a little bit faster than HunterNet because you're only sharing it amongst 2 to 3 other roommates, right? And the prices for these spaces are between $14,260 to about $16,310 per person for the academic year. The prices are dependent on the room type you receive and also where within that apartment you receive. So like we said, it is an open concept, open floor plan. Let's see if I missed anything here. And the beds here just a tad bit bigger. They are twin XLs. It really doesn't make that much of a difference, but we like to put it in there for everyone to understand as well. So the next slide for me, Irina. So this is our brand new location. We're very, very excited about it. So this is our Midtown East location. It's on 51st Street and Lexington. The rooms types that are provided here are double rooms and deluxe doubles, which the only difference being the deluxe doubles have a kitchenette. It is also about a 20-minute walk from Hunter College, and we're very, very excited for the students who get to live in this space. So this space is very similar to how our previous locations at the 92nd, 97th Street where I have a partnership with the management company. So the building will have other CUNY students as well as other students from other schools, but the students who reside at these locations through Hunter College will live on the same floors with Hunter students and also be paired roommates with other Hunter students. So it'll be a great way to get to know other people and other different college campuses, but also you get that same home feel with all the students from Hunter living on the same spaces and floors as you would possibly be at. Next slide for me. So these are the amenities at this location. There's going to be study rooms, a computer station, again, a laundry room, and a communal kitchen. On top of that, there's a fitness center, a rooftop, and a student lounge. And honestly, one of the best amenities is a bike storage. A lot of students who live in the residence halls do get to bike to keep at the Brookdale campus, they leave their bikes outside. 79th Street, depending on the space inside of the apartment, they can bring it into the apartment or lock it outside in a patio. But having a bike storage, I think, is like fairly key for people who want to get around the city and not want to pay for a city bike membership. And having a space to put that so it's not cramped up in your room is a great thing to have. So each room will have a twin-size bed, a dresser, a desk chair, a closet, bathroom. These are air conditioned, and then the kitchenette, which are in the deluxe doubles. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the 79th Street apartments do also have air conditioning as well. So the Brookdale location is the only location that isn't air conditioned. The other 2 locations are on the newer side, and they are. The cost for these rooms are between $12,400 to just less than $13,000 per person for the academic year. So depending on your room type. So our next slide, please. Awesome. So eligibility for new students. So you must be a full-time Hunter College student, and you must be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. We don't have any exceptions for any residents who wish to live on campus. And as you see, if you do come to the city, a lot of spaces and locations do still require vaccinations, even though, COVID policies are changing from the CDC throughout CUNY. This is just something that we can't change because choosing to live on campus, it's a choice, right? Part of the other eligibility is that you have to have we have a GPA requirement. So if you're undergrad 2.0 or higher, or if you're a graduate student, it'll be 3.0 or higher. This isn't applicable for new incoming students because obviously new students will have a 0 GPA, but to continue living on campus after you've been admitted, you have to maintain your 2.0 and you have to maintain your full-time status, which is 12 credits or more per semester. And then if you're a graduate student, it'll be 9 credits or more. You'll also need to have no outstanding housing balances. So if you do either tuition or housing, there is a possibility that housing could be revoked. All right. So our application process, I will let you know now. You guys get a little tidbit. Our application is currently open. So if you're interested in housing, submit the application. If you are a Gold Scholar or a Macaulay student in their first or second year, there is a separate space or a separate reservation form for you to fill out, and that's due by May 5th. It's also on our website. If you are any student that isn't a Gold Scholar or Macaulay first or second year, then you'll just go through the application process. Our applications are reviewed on a rolling basis, and while it's not first come first serve, like I said, we really suggest that you apply early because decisions are sent out on a rolling basis until spaces are filled. Another part of this is that we ask you to continuously check your personal and Hunter email for updates, including junk and spam, because sometimes our emails do tend to end up there. If you apply for housing and you don't hear about an offer or on a wait list by June 30th, please email living@hunter.cuny.edu. Irina's been very grateful by posting stuff in our chat with some of the websites and where you can find our contact information. So please make sure to look that up and know where you can contact us if you have questions. So part of this is the roommate pairing. So roommate pairings are done over the summer after the license agreement process is completed. What that means is if you're offered housing, we wait until the students has signed the housing agreements and any other documentation that we request. And then from there, you're able to either request roommates. We'll fill out kind of like a survey if you're placed in a location with roommates, so that we do our best to pair students based on the information we received. So currently, because of COVID, we aren't doing any in-person tours. However, our website does have pictures of all 3 of our locations and more information for the buildings. So like I said, if you have any questions about housing, please email Living@Hunter and include your first name and your EMPL ID, okay? I want to remind you guys that we only share application specific information via email to the address that's listed on the application, because we follow strict FERPA guidelines and regulations to make sure that we are protecting our students' safety and that we can't share any records with anyone else but the student. So please go on our website, take down our email. I will let you know this is our high time, and as Irina can probably second that, not everyone who calls gets an answer right away, but we do answer our emails within 48 to 72 hours. So if there are questions that you just can't get through on a phone call, please email us, because we know for sure that we'll be able to get to you via email. And I'm one of like 2 people who answers all the emails in our office. So that's pretty much it. And I kind of want to open it up for questions for anyone else.
Awesome. Judy, that was a perfect sort of layout I'll end. So I'm going to invite my students over. I see that a few questions have come in already, and they're for students, as always. They're more popular than us.
Yes.
So some of the new students are asking you guys, Annabelle and Helen, was it scary to move out to New York City for the first time? Can you talk a little bit about that experience? Annabelle, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. So for context, I'm from Long Island. I'm from a very small town on Long Island. So moving to the city was definitely like a big adjustment, very different. I think the dorms, it was very nice just because it was already there. All you had to bring your stuff, you had to unpack. You could spend like your first couple days just like maybe going grocery shopping for the first time and like getting all your stuff together, but you always just had like that kind of stability. And definitely it can be a bit overwhelming. I would just recommend going a bit slow at first, like maybe go out and do one thing a day. Like don't try and see all of New York City all at once. But I mean, it wasn't that bad. And it was definitely like, you get used to being in the city.
Awesome. Thanks, Annabelle. Helen, this is your first semester. So how would you say, was it scary? How was your experience?
So just for context, as Annabelle said, I'm from Queens, so I was commuter before I dormed. I was used to like having my mom cook for me and doing everything, but I feel like the dorms gave me like my personal space. So I do have to cook for myself, but like I have that space if I need it. The adjustment was again like a little overwhelming, but I got used to it and adjusting to it like relatively quickly. So yeah.
Awesome. A few logistical questions students are asking, how much money do you guys spend on food, whether that's groceries or eating out, and whether that's weekly or monthly? What do you budget out for yourself for food? And what do you actually do? Do you usually cook or do you go out? Helen?
So I go home every weekend since I'm in Queens, right? So it's not that far of a travel. And usually I bring food from home for like a week around, and sometimes I'll go out like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and it'll be like around $30 to $50. But then most of it will be from home, so that's my parents' money, not mine.
Smart move, smart move. Annabelle, do you eat out more? Do you cook? Do you bring from home?
Okay, so I cook for myself a lot. However, if I am at Hunter, a lot of my classes end around lunchtime. So I just go to like a food cart and get myself food there. But like I'm cooking myself dinner most nights. In terms of like budgeting for grocery shopping, I usually spend, I believe, around like $70 when I go grocery shopping, and that lasts me about like 3 weeks, maybe longer. And a good way of when I eat out kind of fluctuates. I really look at my bank account. I have a number that I like my bank account to stay at, and if it's starting to get low, I eat out. And if I have money, then I'll be more willing to like use Uber Eats and be a bit lazy. So yeah.
Good advice. Usually check out the bank account before you order out. I think that's a solid advice for any adult out there too, just not just even college students. Judy, a few logistical questions came in for you. Students are asking, since you mentioned there's no air conditioning at Brookdale, do students bring their own? Is it fan? Do you find like you need it?
Yeah, so unfortunately, air conditioners are on our prohibited items list. Like I said, the residence hall, the Brookdale campus is a fairly old building, and it just doesn't have the power capability for every student to bring in their own air conditioning. Most of our students bring in fans. Fans are okay to use. And to be honest, the warmest months, or I guess like weeks, are usually just the first few weeks of the semester. There are windows in each room, so most students really do get by with that. But no, unfortunately, air conditioners aren't allowed on campus.
Awesome. I think that honestly, being at Brookdale, visiting students and doing move-in, I feel like there's only like a week, maybe in August when you first move in when you need it. I think the huge perk of Brookdale is they're right by the water. So if you open up your windows, the air just comes in. It's awesome.
For sure. And also we do have like air conditioned spaces. So like the study space, that's a pretty big location at the Brookdale campus where students can go if, the weather has its freak moments where it's like 100 degrees. Students do go there. And at the end of the day, most students are away at classes, doing internships, hanging out with their friends. A lot of our students are really in the residence halls in the evening times, and it's much, much cooler in the evenings. And again, there are other spaces on campus that you can go that do have air conditioning in.
Awesome. A few more questions came in for students. Again, way cooler than we can ever be, Judy, sorry. Students are asking, how are you utilizing the whole New York City thing? Is it helpful to be in housing for when you want to go do things after class or internships? Has that helped you in any way? Helen, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so for me, I am on the women's cross country and track team. So I have practice at 7 a.m. So it's super convenient to just wake up like an hour before just to get ready and like get to campus. So practice is at the main campus and I'm at Brookdale. So it takes me like around like maybe 15, like 30 minutes. right? If I want to like take my time. So that saves me travel time. And then if I want to like stay out or like study at the main campus or just like hang out with friends, I don't have to worry about like so much of a travel time because it's so much closer. Like I'm in the city, I don't have to go all the way back to Queens. So I can stay out a bit later and do what I need to do.
I will say Helen, when when she was not a resident, she would be in the office way before I would get into the office. She would like turn the lights on in the office for me. The girl never slept. I'm hoping you sleep more now, Helen. I'll give you that. A little more. Annabelle, how about you? How are you utilizing the whole New York City thing? And are you taking advantage?
Yeah, definitely a lot of what Helen said is true, especially because I recently have been looking at like apartments again, and finding an affordable apartment to rent in Manhattan is nearly impossible. And the dorms is like a great option just because you are so close to Hunter, but you're also like in Manhattan, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on here, and it's just like it's a to be. I don't have to mentally prepare myself to be on a subway for an hour if I want to go to this place or do this thing. It's so much easier to just like go out and do stuff or like walk everywhere. I love to walk everywhere. Which is just so great to do. And because you're so close to Hunter, you can take like a class at like, I took an 8 a.m. class and I woke up like an hour before class started just because I was able to get to campus that quick. So that's
and
really nice.
Annabelle, you do a lot of shows too, right?
Oh yeah. I go to shows all the time. I went to a play the other day. And actually there's a way to get cheaper show tickets, Broadway tickets through Hunter that I recently found out about. So I'm looking at tickets for Hadestown right now. They're $40. So I'll let you know how to do that later. But yeah, I go to all the time and I can take a train, like the trains are right there and I don't have to mentally be like, it's really late at night and I have to go all the way back to this place. So it's nice. And I do these sometimes on school nights where I have class the next day. So I don't have to worry about like not getting enough sleep or anything like that.
Awesome. Annabelle, since I have you up, students are asking, it sounds like a lot of people live at Brookdale and less people live at somewhere other place, right? So you lived at another place. How was that experience? Did you meet people? Were you with Hunter students? Were you able to be with Hunter students? I think they're a little worried that they'll be far, far away from everyone.
Yeah, so the dorm I lived at is no longer a Hunter dorm. But what I can say is, yes, there were 100 students there, but 100 students. There were other students from other colleges, and there were some people there on internships, but you can still like be friends with them. Actually, I became friends my freshman year with 2 international students. They were studying for the year at Hunter from Japan, and I became so close with them. I took them home. They came home with me for Thanksgiving, and like that was super fun. It's just because like there's more people at Brookdale doesn't mean there's not still Hunter people at these other dorms. And it kind of is almost like even a smaller knit community. So you're kind of everyone's forced to kind of become friends and get to know each other more.
I know I said this in my last session, but when I moved out to college, I did something called neighbor hopping. And I think that nobody has ever forgiven me that, but all of my friends, you would just literally every week, I was like, I'm going to go pick a different floor, different room, knock, and just introduce myself. And that's how I met some amazing people. You just walk around and you didn't have to have students from your own building. You didn't have to have students from your own like major, residence, school backgrounds. Like it was a really cool opportunity to kind of get to know everyone in the community. Judy, any advice for our students who are a little worried about not being at Brookdale only or being a little further away from like the chunk of Hunter students together?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a misconception that just because Brookdale has more students there, that the other locations won't have that same, I guess, college feel. I just think that everybody has a different experience in each of the locations, right? So like I really work with the students at our Uptown location, so 79th Street and now, Midtown East, but previous to this was our 92nd, 97th Street. The relationships that I saw there was much different because you have roommates, right? Like that's not something you get at the Brookdale campus. And then something you get from these Uptown locations is you get to be with students outside of Hunter, right? I think Annabelle kind of hit the nail on the head with meeting international students and being friends with just people outside of Hunter, because, you know, one day you're not going to want to live on campus, and, you know, you're going to meet other great people, and you're going to want to find apartments and live with them and do this. At the end of the day, just remember that we've had a few rough years with COVID. So anybody who's wanting to come to live on campus now, and we're all trying to kind of go back to the way things were, everyone's kind of on the same boat. Everyone wants to make new friends, reach out to new people, get this kind of college experience that you weren't able to have previous to this. So like, don't be scared, you know, do the neighbor knocks and go door to door, because you're not going to meet a single person in these residence halls who are going to be like, nope, I don't want to be friends with anybody, you know, like, leave me alone. Like, everybody wants to find someone to make a home, you know, with. Like, every single student that I've worked with in the past 8 years in all of our locations have found friends and have made a home outside of the home that they grew up in. So don't let not be living at the Brookdale campus discourage you, because you'll find a different sense of community at the other 2 locations.
So Judy, since I have you up, students are asking what type of events or what is there to do at the residence halls in general? Like, what type of events do you usually see on campus?
Sure. So depending on the location, so like I said, they're staffed with either professional staff members or with resident assistants. So our resident assistants are really our in between students and us in kind of like administration, right? They are students who've lived on campus before, they've been trained with us. They're the ones who put out these programs, and they listen to students. So educational programs, cultural programs, you know, talks, conversations, dancing, yoga, you know, you get to do game room events. And then us in the office, we may put on large scale events, you know, for the first week of move-in, right? We have a welcome week where we have our RAs take students on tours throughout the city. You know, we have a barbecue. We do all these things just to get you acquainted on campus. So while most of our events are fun, there's some educational part of this. You're still learning, right? One of the best parts of being able to live on campus is getting that extra learning that's outside of academia, which you guys are all here for, right? You got into Hunter, you want to be here, but we give you that kind of fun that makes you want to continue staying at Hunter. So, and we're very, very proud of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Judy. Annabelle or Helen, what has been so far your favorite event in the residence halls? Annabelle, want to start?
Yeah, this doesn't seem like super fancy or whatever, but it was just like, I remember it being a super like chill, fun night. Our RA got a bunch of like canvases. We were all kind of like painting and hanging out. There was music playing. I know someone brought like a Switch, so some people were just playing Mario Kart. Like, it was just like nothing crazy, but it was a good time. I met people in the building that I didn't know. So I just have good memories of that.
Awesome. Helen, how about you?
So there was like a paint and like just like hangout sort of situation. They were giving out donuts. So I think when food is involved, obviously everyone comes out. So I met a lot of new people, and we were just like painting and just being creative, you know. So that was really cool.
I will say that for those of you who are coming to Hunter, I feel like food is the whole thing. It's not just Hunter thing. It's like a college student thing. If there's ever free food, you're probably going to go to that event, and definitely do it. And it's one of those things that most college events will have some sort of food for you. So don't be alarmed. You may budget that into your overall food intake budget, right? There's going to be an event or two that you can go to. So you just got to go to the event and get a free sandwich or a donut or whatever it may be. I think one of my favorite things is that although I don't live in the residence halls, I got invited to like one of the welcome stuff, and there was a huge barbecue, and sort of there was like a lot of people doing different things, playing around. I thought that was by far one of the coolest things that we've had. It was like outdoors. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And just a little reminder too, like if you do get the chance to live in the other 2 campuses, we do have students from these campuses come down to Brookdale when we have events, right? Like the Brookdale location has our game room, right? Like as a Hunter student, you are allowed in those spaces. So like we have a lot of students who live in all 3 residence halls that are able to go visit each other, you know, with the proper sign-ins and stuff like that. But you can see the other locations. Like you're not just stuck, you know, in any one of these spaces. You know, that's part of living in Manhattan, is taking advantage of every aspect, and that's going in between our different residence halls, meeting people from all of the residence halls, right? So just something to keep in mind.
Judy, since you touched on this, a few questions have come in about the guest policy. Can students bring guests to campus, and what does that process look like?
Sure. So when you go to college at CUNY, we treat you as adults. There is no curfew, right, for guests. The past few years with COVID, it's been a little bit different. And, we haven't been able to have guests, but this past semester, we were able to start having guests again. All guests have to be 18 and up. All guests will have to be vaccinated as well. And each location will have something different that the students will receive before they check in. There's a certain amount of guests you can have overnight for the month, but you're allowed to have one daytime guest every day. And you just sign that person in and out with public safety. And we just want to make sure that our buildings are safe for everybody involved. And, we're all about community living and making sure that our students are safe.
Thank you. A few students are asking if there's an opportunity for some sort of like a learning community, or if there's a gender neutral community or LGBTQ friendly community, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Sure. So at all of our locations, we do have gender neutral spaces. So as I said earlier, our Brookdale location do have gender neutral bathroom spaces, meaning there are floors with gender neutral spaces. There are floors where the bathrooms have been designated for specific wings of hallways. And then there are floors with males bathroom and females bathrooms, but we're moving more and more away from that. And mostly because we have such limited spaces, we want to be able to give housing to as many people as possible. And we don't want gendered spaces to be part of our housing process, right? Students who live in our apartments and also at the 51st Street location, there are options to live in gender neutral spaces, right? We only pair students who want to live in gender neutral spaces together. Hunter College as a whole very prides itself in being a safe and welcoming space, and that's for all students. And we do our very best to put students in places that they're going to feel comfortable. And if they don't, we encourage them to reach out to us. There are lots of people at Hunter College that work very, very hard, including our staff, to make sure our students belong, and then as opposed to like the living learning communities, a little bit right at the Brookdale campus, because there are certain scholar cohorts that do live there that you'll most likely see because you are probably doing other program things with those students. But we really try to expand our students and make sure that you're getting to know everybody, right? Not just the students that are in your cohort, because you're going to meet a lot of students from a lot of different backgrounds in our housing locations.
Awesome. Students are also asking about roommates, since you mentioned the roommates at other buildings. They're asking when will they know about roommates? How do they know about roommates? Can they know ahead of time? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an answer that you're not going to like, but there's a reason, right? So we don't give roommate information ahead of time. And that is because of twofold. One is because of FERPA, right? It's our job to make sure we protect students' information. And then secondly, it's because from our experience, when we give a student roommate information, it is very easy to look them up on social media, create your own judgment about this person, and then we used to get tons and tons of emails about saying, I don't want this person to be my roommate based on what I saw on social media, based on this and that. We want everyone to come into college with fresh eyes and giving everybody a chance, because that is what we believe, that students who go into college with an open mind find themselves making friends with people who are very, very different from them. And sometimes when you get that kind of prejudged idea based on what they post or who they are, you don't really get to open yourselves up for that. I will say for the roommate process, if you have roommate requests, right, we totally take those. Both students or all students will have to request each other. And then secondly, is that we do kind of a roommate survey, like I said previously, after you've received housing, after you signed your license agreement and documentation, there's a little survey in those documents. And we really do try to match people based on the answers. We try to match people on their class year. So we try to pair first years together or first years with sophomore. If they're in the same program and they want to live with other people in their same program, we try to put them together. We try to do our very best. But again, people change throughout college. Not everything's going to work, but there's processes for that.
Awesome. Judy, we've covered a lot of different things. Students are asking a lot more questions for students now. Students for students, current students. So first question is the move-in. Students are asking Annabelle or Helen, what does the move-in look like? Do you go up? Is there help? How was the move-in day? Was it exciting? Helen, you go.
So when I moved in at Brookdale, there was no like visitor policy, so I had to move everything in by myself. So what I did is I moved in things slowly, so it wasn't too overwhelming. Like I brought like my bed stuff and basically essentials for the first day. I cleaned and all of that, and then I slowly started to bring everything else in. So I could do it myself, and it wasn't too overwhelming for me to like have everything in one place. So that was my move-in experience.
Annabelle, how about you?
Yeah, so my move-in was pre-COVID, so there wasn't, my parents were allowed to come with me. My parents helped me like bring all my stuff upstairs because my roommate was from out of state. She had to come early, so she had already moved in, so it wasn't like a bunch of people's new stuff at once. Yeah, it's just be organized when like you pack stuff, like make sure you know what's in all of your boxes. I didn't unpack everything all at once. I definitely was like, let me get my bed and then let me put away some clothes. It was kind of just getting used to everything. It wasn't too bad. The people, the RAs there, like they were super nice. They didn't obviously help you move in, but they helped like give you directions and advice and all of that.
Awesome. Judy, I'm sure that this is going to look a little different now that COVID restrictions are lifted, right? So
Yeah.
want to tell them a little?
For sure. So pre-COVID, again, we wanted to make sure that our community was safe. So we weren't allowed to have people into the building other than the students who were approved to live there. So moving forward, there will be some kind of assistance like we've had in the past, right? So right now we're planning our checkout where each student will be able to have 2 people help them. Again, everyone will have to be vaccinated. They'll have to go through kind of like an approval process so that public safety has access. What check-in usually looks like is students do, it's usually a few days before the first day of the semester. And we have students sign up for a check-in date, right? Because a place like Brookdale, where there's 650 people moving in, you want to be as prepared as possible. I will give you a little tip. If you live in one of the boroughs, we suggest that you come check in. Like that means get your key, fill out the paperwork, and then move in slowly, right? You don't have to bring in everything that same day. Pick another day that is going to be less people, move your stuff in. Another tip, don't bring your entire life with you, because every person who lives in a residence hall knows you will accumulate a lot of stuff while living in the residence hall. So bring your essentials. You know, we send out a list of the things you need to bring, but, you know, as for parking, it's New York City, right? Your parents or your guardians, they will drive up to the Brookdale campus. They'll stay by the car. You'll unload your stuff, you know, into a cart that we have, and then they have to find parking somewhere else. You know, that's just kind of the rule of the game in the city. But luckily, I think moving forward, you'll be able to have 1 or 2 people help you bring that stuff in, help you set up, say goodbye, and, you know, get kind of adjusted. So I think that's going to be really great. I know that, you know, kind of what Helen was experienced was a little bit more difficult, but it'll be different. And, you know, it's going to be a stressful time. Don't get me wrong. Moving is always super stressful, but once you're there, you're situated, you'll see a lot of people who are also in a super stressful situation. And that's how a lot of people make friends. So, yeah.
Perfect. Judy, I think it's worth mentioning for students who are a little worried about being out of state, in state, from five boroughs, the moving process doesn't change. You still select a move-in date, you come in. The whole difference is, think of it as, right, you're moving into the busiest city in the world, literally the busiest city. So coming in and expecting to be able to park your car for 3 hours while you unload, unpack, settle in, that's not going to be an option. So what Judy's saying is that you're going to come in, unload all of your stuff on the curb and the bins that they provide, and then your parents or whoever's driving that car are going to have to go find parking spot, right? Away from the unloading area, because ultimately, again, you're moving in on a day that's going to be super busy for everyone.
Right.
So advice is, in general, if you bring your bedding and stuff with you, basics, and perhaps ship the rest of it later, that might be an option. If you're getting driven in, again, you got to pack sort of compactly, right? You want to make sure that You can kind of take the stuff out of the car and then unload as fast as possible because you want to make sure the rest of the people come in. So it's not that the process is different. You can absolutely, even if you've gotten from them 5 bars, do that. It's just you wouldn't be able to stand there and wait. I can tell you, I helped people move in on 97th Street once and 79th Street. There's like, you're in New York City. People even on the sidewalk are going to complain because you're going to be in the middle of their way, right? People that are just living their normal lives and commuting to New York City jobs and going to classes and whatever else.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And we also don't have any say with like New York City's police department. And, you know, if you're parked too long or leave your car unsupervised in like one of these no parking areas, there's a possibility your parents will get a ticket. And we really, really don't want that. So, you know, try your best to be prepared and try your best to bring only the things you know you're going to need, because you're going to visit home, you know, and you can always grab stuff that you need, bring back. You're going to buy stuff when you're here. And you'll meet people who, you know, you might share things with, especially if you have roommates and stuff. So don't overpack. I think a lot of students overpack. So
I'd say my piece of advice is definitely don't bring everything with you at once, because everything you think you need, you will not need.
No.
And that's coming, you know, back in the day, I moved in as an international student and I thought I don't have enough stuff because all I had was just like some bedding things and like a shower caddy, and that was the rest. That was the end of my life.
Yep.
But again, you're going to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work, and you have a little time. Your parents can always ship it to you afterwards if you're coming from further away, but you don't necessarily need as much stuff as you think.
And remember, what you move in, you have to move out. So
Amen. Amen. You got to do that every single semester, every single year, right? So you got to remember to be able to move that out too. I think that covers a lot of the questions that we've gotten so far. So I just want to say a huge thank you, Judy, Annabelle, and Helen. Thank you for sharing your experiences. For the students who are listening in, we have a phenomenal opportunity for you. It's called Unibuddy. So Annabelle and Helen are both on this Unibuddy platform. There are more students that live in other buildings on campus. If you want to ask them about their experiences, where they get the best pizza slice in the neighborhood, how their commute is, where they park their bike, if they get unlimited Metro cards, if they get a paid per ride Metro cards, all these questions. We have a ton of students who have lived on campus and all of them are Unibuddy. They'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you have. So once again, thank you for joining us, guys. Congratulations on your acceptance, and hopefully we'll see you in the fall semester. Have a good one, everyone. Bye, guys. Bye.